All right, moving my work relative to my tape board. I've got a new project I'm doing here. It's making a new connecting board, I'll call it, to my work top or MFT top. And I need to cut this dado here. I was going to pull this workpiece off of my Origin workstation, but then I thought, let's give this a try. So I want to pull this back from the tape board so I don't cut into it. I'm going to pull it back a ½ inch since that's what my grid is set up for. Increments of a half or a quarter or 1/16, whatever. I can change that on my grid, but I'm going to pull it back a half. So I grab these, and I can't put them in here because they'll just fall all the way through, but I can put them in the back because my table is still underneath this, I guess, my extension table. But I can now put those in there and push this up tight and tighten this down now. And I've effectively moved my workpiece back a ½ inch. Get these out of here. This can now come back. Well, I guess I do have a little ledge there. I could have put them up here too, for that matter. Now that I see it, but I didn't think I had a ledge there. So I want to run a groove all the way across here. 19 millimeter, I think that's what this is. Let me check this. No, 17 or 18 millimeters. 17 and a half according to this. At any rate, now I've got to fix this to my table, and I will use some tape because I'm not going all the way through. So I can get this out of here. These are my shims to hold my workpiece up so I didn't go into my table, which I already have once. And that was done because I thought I was drilling this hole, and I was out here, and you can see the mistake I made. It went all the way through before I put the shims in, and I dinged my top a little bit there. But anyway, what I'll do now is just put this back in because I've got registration points, put tape in, and make my groove. So I think this is another little slick idea you can do with this type of setup, and get away with it. I'll find out, I guess. But I'm very confident that this is going to work. I use the onboard tools to create a rectangle, 18 inches. This is 17 and a half by 18 millimeters. I located it negative ½ inch down. Let me show you what I'm doing here. Because this is 0, 0, I located it -1/2, 0, or 0 minus a half. I don't know which way it is now. Doesn't really matter. So that will run right along this edge, and that's how I'll make my cut. Now my stops are a little bit above this, or a little bit above center. So I'm going to be, I guess I really don't care if I cut into these, it's no big deal. But my first pass is going to be an 1/8 inch, and then my next pass will be a 1/4 inch. And hopefully I'll not cut into these stops, but if I do, that's why they're made out of wood. So I'll get this done and come back. When I first started, I forgot to cut that pocket first, but that's a nice cut. And let's just see how we did here. And then evidently this is not, these two edges aren't parallel. I was a little out on this edge. I left a little whisker where this edge was clean. So I should have run this through my table saw before I used it. And that's a nice fit. Just a little bit of an overhang there, and there's a little bit more overhang on this edge, which tells me I'm a little bit out of parallel. I'm parallel to this edge, but this is not parallel to this one. At any rate, I'm good. I'm happy with that, and I don't need to go any deeper. That'll work. So I'll cut the mating piece. I glue it in there. That's a nice dado, like that. And then put it together and show you what I've got going here. All right, maybe I shouldn't say that. I try to clean up every groove or dado, rebate, whatever you want to call this, with my router plane. And what I found was probably my table was a little bit tilted this end up a little, because this side was fractionally deeper than this one. And what I'm saying by that is over 18 inches, probably 10/1000ths of an inch. So I was setting my router plane to this depth, or getting to this depth, I should say, coming back here and cleaning this up. And it took very little cleanup, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but now I'm confident that I have a groove here that is parallel to this surface. So, like I said, this is a shop project, so I'm not really concerned about it, but it did cut a nice groove, but it wasn't perfectly parallel to this surface. So, just a word to the wise that way. Let me cut this board, glue it in here. All I'm going to do is glue this upright basically, and then drill 2 holes. I think these are about 2 inches on center, if I remember right, when I made this project back in the day. Maybe 2.5. So I do have some reference to work with here. And these are 3 inch on center, I know that. All right, this is overkill, but this is used, I'm using this to reference the bottom of my new jig. There's the bottom of my old jig. I've got center lines. This was the center line I was using on my Shaper Origin to register this project. I'm going to put this on here on its center line. I've also carried it over to the top here, since these are not quite the same height. I'm going to get those lined up right about there. Yep, clamp that, and then make a mark, or marks I should say. Yep, that's no good. Okay. Now I can drop my transfer punch in this hole. Right there. Make this mark and yeah, it should be good. Okay, got my two dimples. So drill these holes, then I can glue this up with some confidence that it's going to be right where I need it to be. Make sure that I've got this registered the correct way. This goes towards the jig. Alright. I'm just going to do this on the drill press. I was thinking about doing it with my shaper origin, but this is just kind of a oddball measurement. Let me see if I can tell you what it is. Because I didn't cut the groove the same depth as the other one, well, that's falling right on about 1 7/8 inches. So it is pretty darn close to a measurement I could use. And this is 3-inch spacing. I know that for a fact. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it on my origin and see if I can do it just by knowing it's 3-inch on center right on the nuts, and knowing that this is 1 7/8 inches. Let me try this. 1.875. .875. Oh, it's off a hair. I'm going to call it 1.83. So you can locate 1.83. So if I register that board to my 0 point here, 3-inch on center, 1.83 off of this edge. See how we do. Well, let's see how we did. For some reason I thought these were 1/4-inch bolts, but they're 5/16, so I grabbed a couple of longer ones to see how we did here. I'm going to put this on the center line. Bring in my other one. Line up the centers. Right about there. No, I haven't even looked down here to see if these are lined up, but I'm just going to steady it. That one's in. And that one's in. Perfect fit. Perfect. Oh, I like that. So, that was awesome. Now I can glue this up. I also cut the recess for the washers, so they'll go in like that. But I'm very, very pleased with that setup. I think it took me a while to get this one set up to do these two simple holes, but it would have taken me probably just as long on the drill press to get this exactly right. And whatever, turned out terrific. Here's something I'm trying for the very first time. I'm using a dowel as a caul. My groove is a 1/4 inch deep, so I used a 1/4 inch dowel, and it's putting the pressure right on the halfway point of that joint. At least that, in theory, that's what it should be doing. This board had a little bit of a bow this way, so I clamped it up, got it relatively square, and then put this on with clamps to pull it tight on the edges, on the ends, I should say. And you know, this being a self-squaring joint, this ended up just dead nuts, just perfectly square. And I've never been able to really do that very often, but both ends and the middle stare it square. I'm very pleased with that. And this is just a little bit of pressure on that dowel. You don't want to crush the thing. So we'll let that cure. We'll come back and take a look at this jig and mount it on my piece. I just noticed something. I've got this on backwards. Yeah. The recess for the washers is supposed to be on the inside. I'm not going to worry about it. Oh well. One of life's little hiccups. No big deal. Well, you make a mistake that you say you can live with, but you really can't. So I made a perfect plug using my shape of origin, and this will go in there with a little help and some glue. That'll fit in there nicely. Got the other one here. I'm going to make sure I put the right side out. This one doesn't really matter, I guess. Maybe that'll go in there. It's so close, and the mistake I made was I cut these to the exact outside diameter, and I should have cut them about 1 thou, or maybe even a little more than that, less, so that they would drop in. But they'll go. I sanded them a little bit, and I can get them started, so I'm not too concerned about putting a board over them. Give them a good whack and put them in there. So this one starts a little better, even stays. So that I'll mark this one right, the other one left, and maybe I'll sand this one just a little bit more. Yeah, I'll give this a little bit more. And I'm actually kind of sanding them and putting a little back bevel on them at the same time. This one is about 10 thousandths thicker than the other one, but shouldn't really matter. I'll just flush them up. sticking just up above the surface, which is good. That means I've got it down tight to the bottom. This one's going to stick up a little bit more. This is 120. That's flush. Nice little repair. All right, flush and fixed. See my through holes there now. Okay, I'll mount it to my belt sander. I'll get this table out of the way. We'll see how it's going to work. Right, this is my small table. Get these out of the way. This is the one that overhangs about 1.5 inches. So if I bring this up, oh, I got to bring this too. And you can see the, let me back off here. These are the series of holes that I want to use them in. I don't know, it might be this one right here. Yeah, it's this series of holes. Let me get this attached. That's how you know you got a good fit, when you can run these bolts in by hand. And I'll snug them up here. That's good enough. Oh, I'm using the roll back behind the extrusion here. So that's centered up. I can move this table, and you have to imagine that these are not here, but for now let's just go this way. Right there. There's one. I'm going to grab another dog. There's another. So that's locked in place. I think what I'll probably end up doing when I do use this is slide it over so I can use these 4 holes. Where's my tool there? I'm going to slide it. I think I got room. Nope. Now let's use 3. So the wider apart you get with your holes, or the more dogs you use, the more locked in this is going to be. And right now I'm about 1/4 of an inch away from the table, which is good. And if I use the thinner table, then I will want to move this thing up. So if I had my table that basically runs parallel to this edge, I can now move this up one. And again, be within 1/4 of an inch of the table. Now when I walked around to loosen up this extrusion to move it out of the way, I noticed a little problem that I have to take care of. And I'll show you that here. I'm covering up my dust port. So I've got to cut that out. So that this can slide in. This is the hose end. This is the sander end. I've got an elongated hole there that I put this in and kind of put it like that, and then push it forward and lock it in place. Right about right there. So, one more twist to this project that I wasn't counting on. And mark that out and get it off of there. That's what I have to remove. I'm just using this drill bit basically as a transfer punch. I got it eyeballed. Pretty close. Right about right there. Alright, pencil. Okay. Well, I broke up the bandsaw thinking it'd be quick and easy. and I can only do the one side. Because I have to stand it up, this plate got in the way and I just didn't have enough room to do it, so I've got to cut it by hand. So I've got my line transferred on this side. I probably just should have cut them both by hand, but alright, got a little lip there. This one not so much. Clean this one up a little. Yeah, that's good. I nailed it. So now this can go in like this. And there's my dust collection to the back. And I've often thought about making a little plug here to keep this in place, but I can handle that with a bungee cord too. Alright, dust collection is working, or will work. I have to locate it because this is covering a couple door holes. I go there. I don't use this one anyway. There it is. I think what I'll do is make a little hook. I can just use a bungee cord, a short bungee cord with a ball. You know, you're wrapping around and you're supposed to put this over the top of the ball to hold whatever you're doing. For me, I'm going to put the ball behind my PVC. I'll get a hook out here. Whoop. Or a bolt of some kind, something. Anything just to hold that in place. And that won't come out while I'm working on it. My old one worked both ways because it only used these 3 dog holes. But if I were to use these 3, I would need another set of holes out here. And then I'd have to trim this off flush to this line. I don't have enough meat on the bone to run another hole through this. I would be right on the edge. Yeah, if I go right there. Yeah, I mean, I'm right on the edge. You can't do it. So I'm going to have to use this as my vertical holding jig, and I'll use this for my horizontal. I can't remember the last time I used it vertically, but I'll keep both jigs if I ever run into that possibility. I'll label this as belt sander vertical and belt sander horizontal.